world has, for the most part, stopped asking for the current whereabouts of Kate Middleton, and the royal family has been eerily quiet. Suddenly, King Charles III, self-proclaimed descendant of Vlad the Impaler.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
As it were.
Appears to unveil a painting by pornographic portrait artist Jonathan Yao at his Royal Satanic Majesty's request. The portrait, bathing in the color of bloody red, the symbol of power, replete with a symbolic butterfly, perhaps nodding to the deeply occultic world that King Charles has not only finally attained the throne, but has undergone complete transformation from a former close friend of satanic ritual abuse monster Jimmy Savile.
In 1986, Charles and Jimmy grew close. The Times claims that the two exchanged messages for 20 years, from 1986 to 2006. With the release of a new video describing Jimmy Savile's relationship with the royal family, it has become clear how closely related King Charles and his family were to the man who was exposed as a paedophile in 2011.
Into a fully programmed vessel to be wielded. Wielded by what, you may ask? That is revealed by mirroring the painting as an image of Baphomet reveals itself.
Now, it is time to take it to the next level. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model. I've come to realize that it is not a lack of capital that is holding us back, but rather the way in which we deploy it. Therefore, to move forward, we need nothing short of a paradigm shift. We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, and global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet.
The symbolism isn't lost on the King's Coven of the Order of the Garter, or King Charles' fellow New World Order accomplices, or the artwork of the satanic elites.
Did you know Stanley Kubrick filmed his famous movie Eyes Wide Shut inside the Rothschild family's country estate? Well, take a look at these pictures that show an actual Rothschild event from 1972. Here's some MK Ultra programming. Many guests are wearing masks with multiple faces. Victims of MK Ultra programming report systematic and ritualized pedophilia, drug and sexual abuse, and torture designed to deliberately shatter the minds of victims into multiple personalities called alters, which can be molded and manipulated at will.
Simultaneously, strange things are afoot within the United Kingdom, seemingly heralding a larger awareness of the coming of a global satanic effort to release what is known by some as the Black Awakening.
I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We're sitting in a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring and recording them. And they were the most sophisticated satanic warrior type person. They knew 5-6 languages. They knew the ancient Twilight languages. They knew how to conjure. They knew how to use Belteshazzar, Okwam, all these old Pictish languages of the Druids to summon. They are the real Luciferian. They've been through many human sacrificial things. So they sat there to tell me some of those things, what they've been involved with, how they sacrifice a human. I'm listening to all this stuff from them. And then they said to me, you have no idea, Russ, how many of us there are out there. How many satanic, they use the term, chosen ones. You have no idea how many. You have no idea what's coming. We smell Christian blood. We are waiting for our day. And when the call is given, millions of us will be released. And they looked at me and said, you believe in revivals and you believe in Pentecost and the power of God. You believe in all that. We believe in the Black Awakening, a multi-continental release of power to activate the program demonized, where they've weaponized the demonic powers to these super soldiers.
John Bound reporting for Wolf News.
The southern border of the United States is wide open, and the federal government has been conducting a wide-scale criminal operation of flooding the country with unvetted foreigners, distributing them across the United States, and providing them with homes and financial support. The GOP's talking point has been that this is all about election fraud, but this has been happening all across the Western world for over a decade. This is something far more sinister than election fraud. The Population Division of the United Nations concerns themselves with international migration. In the year 2000, they published Replacement Migration, a solution put forth to deal with declining and aging populations. For years, we were told that this was a conspiracy theory. But now that we are seeing tens of millions murdered by the experimental shots, it is becoming more clear what the objective is. We are told that these are poor families fleeing tyranny, but there are massive amounts of healthy young men without any families. And time again, we have seen them act violently against the native population with very little repercussions from the law. As we are expecting the announcement of Aziz and another, a recent report from UK's Jim Ferguson provides a plausible explanation of what we are seeing.
This isn't normal. There's something not right. This isn't just refugees coming in. These aren't people fleeing from some kind of war zone. These are predominantly men aged between 25 and 35, young fighting age men, as my old boss Nigel Farage once referred to them, and I think he's right. John, what do you think's going on here, mate?
So I can tell you these are UN soldiers and they will be deployed by when they announce the next that's what's going to happen. They've been trained by British soldiers. They've been trained by the Black Watch Regiment. They were training them in Antalya in Turkey and in the east of Ukraine. They're predominantly down to sergeant ranks. They're then shipped to France. They all sign the Official Secrets Act. Then they're ferried over. If you were fleeing war and tyranny, I don't know about you, but I would certainly take my wife and children with me. They're most precious. They're my prized asset. You know, they're everything to me. If you're going to war, you go to war with the lads. They're going to be deployed. They will be deployed.
John, I mean, you say you spoke to people in the Black Watch. I mean, the Black Watch, a very famous, regiment.
Yes.
Are they actually going along with this?
They've got no choice. Well, I kind of said, why are you doing it? And he said, soldiers follow orders. What you're going to see is the following. We'll have a minister somewhere in cabinets suddenly come up with a great idea on how we're going to get these guys to contribute to help us. And they're going to put them in uniforms. So a couple of people have told me these uniforms are burgundy. Others have told me they're UN blue. I really don't know. I guess we'll see when they deploy them. They are going to be deployed because otherwise, if they announced another, what would everyone say? They'd say bollocks and they'd go about their business, wouldn't they? They're going to need armed young men in uniform to try and enforce it. Why do they import young men from the East? Because traditionally, if you want to kill and tyrannize white people, you put black soldiers in because there's a cultural disassociation. And that's their method. That's the way these globalists are going to do it.
In America, when it was a colony of the United Kingdom, of Britain, there was a revolution against British colonial rule.
That's right.
A lot of people didn't realise, but it was only 3% of those people in America that overthrew the British forces and basically got rid of them. 3% of the population, John.
I look forward to it. I'm ready. I can't wait because I know it's going to be the beginning of the end for them. I do foresee victory. I see that at very great cost. But we will see it. And I think the world will become closer than ever when we do see victory. It's going to come on the back of a load of pleasure, and unfortunately it has to. Once people of all colours come together and recognise their common enemy, we'll walk over these people in 10 minutes.
Reporting for Zero Wolf, this is Greg Reese.
All right. Hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond. Hope you guys are doing well on a Sunday night, 10:10 p.m. on May 19th, 2024. Hope you enjoyed those two videos. Thought they were both very important ones. The second one in particular is what we will be dealing with very soon, it looks like. And thus, things like so that they will have control over pretty much everything and can, say that there's a challenge in the and therefore their troops will already be in place. So here is the Jim Ferguson tweet about this, which is the video we just watched. I posted this on my Facebook page, and several people asked me to share it with them as well so they could get the word out. I would advise you guys as well. The mass numbers of illegal migrants that are pouring into our respective countries are in fact UN soldiers. These are UN soldiers, and they will be deployed by the WHO, I call them the World Homicide Organization, when they announce the next. So that is key. The Black Watch, a Scottish infantry regiment based in Perth, Scotland, has been instructed to train illegal migrants to carry out crowd control and other measures to force compliance within the British population in the event of a civil uprising of the population against the government. There are being flown into the UK right now, ready to be used on the British public. UK businessman John O'Looney, which we just saw in that video, raises the alarm and says he has conclusive evidence that these UN soldiers are being trained by British forces who are being ordered to do so by globalists infesting the British government. John has stated that he has surveillance and video evidence of what is going on with detailed vehicle and registration numbers of the vehicles that are in use. The details that are emerging suggest that British forces will be sent abroad to fight Russia in Ukraine that will effectively leave no patriotic soldiers within Britain to protect the British population, and that illegal migrants will be issued uniforms and given powers by the globalists to police, control, and order the British people to stay home, and will have the powers to get physical and arrest anyone who does not comply. This explains why Canada, the US, Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Europe are all facing the same plan by the globalists. These illegal migrants have no loyalty to the host countries and will gleefully follow orders from the globalists to subjugate and control the people in our respective countries. This is a betrayal of biblical proportions. It is time to get prepared, and it is time to resist. This talks about joining the freedom movement. freedomtraininternational.org to stay informed and up to date with what's about to happen. You need to know what happens next. Join us. This is a tweet from this guy that was in the video we just watched, Jim Ferguson UK on Twitter. So I think that's pretty important. Didn't know if you guys knew about this. Could this also be part of the 200 million strong army that's already going to be deployed all throughout the world that the Bible talks about? I don't know. Maybe. We shall see. But it makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, John O'Looney. I see someone asking. Yeah, Ms. Ruby asking in chat here. O'Looney, the funeral director a few years back. That's the same guy, very same dude who was exposing the mortality that he was seeing in his funeral business, and that he was finding in the cadavers, in the bodies. So yeah, it's the same guy, John O'Looney. So anyway, I would just ask that you guys share this. I think it's a really important one, and it sure makes a lot of sense that indeed is why these people are being brought in. Yeah, the blue hats, as Cowboy says here. Yeah, probably so. Whether they're actual blue hats or not, who knows? And that doesn't really matter. The point is they're being deployed throughout the world, throughout the Western world. So anyway, it's Doug Diamond here. Hope you guys are doing well. This is another Diamond Report Live. We're going to go through the news. We've got quite a few things to look at tonight. We'll see how much we can squeeze in. You can see across the top of my screen, I've got lots and lots of tabs, and we've got some videos to look at too. So we'll be here for a little while. So kick up your feet, and we'll go through the news, and I'll impart the information I have here, and feel free to share with me what you guys are looking at. And if you have any questions, feel free to post that in chat. I've got the Rumble chat pulled up here. I can see that. And then, of course, the YouTube chat, too. If you have any questions or comments from me in particular, maybe put them in all caps so I don't miss them when I scroll through them a little bit later in the broadcast. So anyway, yeah, let's keep on moving here. We've got lots and lots to look at. So first of all, HalTurnerRadioShow.com, Iran president and foreign minister in a helicopter crash. Update, all dead. This is according to HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Helicopter with Iranian president Razi, I'm not sure how you say his name, no disrespect intended, on board suffered a crash landing on Sunday. State media reported, with weather conditions complicating rescue efforts. His condition was unclear, according to state news reports, which also aired prayers for his safety. So this talks about some of the various details as far as some of the rescue attempts. But due to the fog and bad weather, it may take time to reach the area. Apparently it was in the mountains. It says the officials were returning from the border with the country of Azerbaijan in the northwest of the country, some 375 miles from the capital of Tehran, when the chopper went down. So there's some information here. And then Hal's got some updates. Says flash update. This was at 12:23 Eastern today. Reports coming in claiming Israel involved in the helicopter downing. Shocker. Yes. So who knows? Sabotage is involved. If it was weather, then why did the other two helicopters successfully reach their destination? Sounds like the CIA and the Mossad, perhaps. You might want to ask them some questions. Oh, I guess we can't do that, can we? It says the Israeli media is reporting the president of Iran is dead. And that was as of almost 1 p.m. Eastern today. So they are gleefully reporting that the Iranian president, the country that they are probably, I would say, sworn enemies with at this point, their leader is dead from a helicopter crash. Yep, I'm sure it's a coincidence, aren't you? 1:35 Eastern, confirmation. Heads of the communication department confirms the death of the president of Iran and his foreign minister in the president's helicopter crash in the mountains of East Azerbaijan province. So that's according to Hal Turner Radio Show. I don't know if there are other reports that are that, that sure of themselves as far as that goes. He has one other. Here, let me go back to this homepage. He's got one other post here saying that Iran television suspends broadcasts, now airing only the Quran in anticipation of solemn announcement. So then I think it was this one saying that it wasn't confirmed. So who knows? My guess is if it went down in the mountains, that's not good. So yeah, further details will emerge when I get to the tab across the screen here that's got RT. I'll refresh it and see if there's any new info on this. United States sending armored vehicles into Gaza. Something very unusual is going on via the new temporary port built by the U.S. military at the Gaza Strip. Armored U.S. vehicles are being offloaded and driving into Gaza. Is the U.S. going to put a stop to Israeli strikes through its mere presence? I don't think so. I wouldn't think that's why they were going into Gaza, would you? Will these armored vehicles protect aid from being stolen by Hamas or being destroyed by the ghastly denizens of Israeli settlements? Settlers have been internationally destroying aid being sent into Gaza. Perhaps the U.S. will put a stop to these savage, inhuman settler beasts. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Maybe they're there to make sure nothing gets in. So anyway, so that's what's going on in Gaza. And look at this, slave auction today. I saw this and thought, man, this is a really bad picture of someone attempting something that may or may not be real. It says the video below shows another sale of children taking place today in the Congo. Local Africans grab the children from rival villages and march them into the mines, then sell them to the miners or the mining company. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the so-called international rules-based order. So here it is. It says this is how it happened 400 years ago. They were marched to the beach where they were sold. So they were literally just making all these kids sit down and wait in this video. And you can see that they're being controlled here by just a few other men. No one has guns that you can see, at least visibly. So, very interesting, huh? Imagine in the year 2024, something like this can be going on and not one peep from civilized society. No media coverage. No bleeding heart, sensitive, tolerant liberals, progressives, decrying modern-day slavery. No Black Lives Matter protests. No economic sanctions. No deployment of the military. Nothing from the UN. Want to know why you hear nothing? I think maybe all those entities are just frauds. All of them. They only pay attention when there is money in it for them. They only scream, holler, and protest when the target is advanced Western civilization from whom they can get money for themselves. Modern day slave auction. Wow. So that is on HalTurnerRadioShow.com. That is amazing. I didn't know if that was something you guys would normally see. So I wanted to show it to you, just to prove that it is true. It is real. All right, the plan to seize 100 million homes worldwide is a massive wealth transfer. John Williams explained how over 100 million homes will be lost by property owners to banks over the next 5 years. China is considering a plan for local governments nationwide to buy millions of unsold homes from distressed developers. Williams said that the U.S. will be subject to the same formula that's playing out in the UK. Lloyds Bank plans to buy 50,000 homes to become one of UK's largest landlords. Banks are competing with home buyers, so there will be less money to lend to home buyers. On top of this, home insurance premiums and property tax are increasing. Homes will be required to have an emergency performance certificate to meet energy efficiency standards. So get ready, right? The global climate agenda. If prices fell to the real value of homes in the U.S., taxes would crash. Both insurance and property tax are on the rise, forcing older Americans to take on debt, leaving them vulnerable to unexpected expenses. Williams said that within the next few years, there will be an affordability crisis and tens of millions of Americans will lose their properties. Williams recommends buying property without a mortgage if possible. He also recommends building a business and strong cash reserves to self-insure property and pay out of pocket instead of carrying an insurance policy. So, anyway, there's the embedded video there. If you wanted to take a look at that, just wanted to mention that. And yes, I do think that this type of thing is certainly on the rise. It's certainly coming. And of course, we know BlackRock is buying up property like crazy. So that is not good news. California's secret 50-cent gas tax hike to combat phony global warming. To that, I would say that global warming is, like Mr. Dane says, I think we're way past that at this point. We're beyond what we would call global warming. And yes, it is a fraud from the standpoint of they are wanting to control the entire world, control all of our lives, with that as the excuse, although that doesn't mean that there's not issues. That doesn't mean that there's not problems, and it's the geoengineering programs that are causing any kind of climate problems. We're going to look at that a little bit more as we progress through the night here. So last September, the California Air Resources Board, CARB, entity that Mr. Dane Wigington has mentioned quite a few times before, the state's primary environmental regulator, reported gas prices will rise next year about 50 cents a gallon and every year thereafter to aid in clean air efforts and to fill the coffers of the Democrat Party, is my guess. Gasoline price increases are predicted due to the low carbon fuel standard reforms that were created in 2007, likely rising by 47 cents next year and 52 cents by 2026. Long-term projections suggest gasoline could surge by $1.15. The increase will punish middle-class and low-income Californians and is a push to get people to buy EVs, electric vehicles, which, of course, the electric grid cannot support everyone having an electric vehicle. Not to mention the fact that they're pieces of junk and don't work anyway. But that's the whole purpose. It's a bridge to nowhere. To get us out of things that work, i.e. gasoline-powered cars, and get us into things that don't work, and to basically break us as well. Not only financially, but to break our will, so that people don't travel at all. So yeah, there's some folks, I know, some Californians in the chat here tonight. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Not good news. Anyway, they've got more plans to part you from your car, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job of it, unfortunately. All right, the big painting. We saw the first video tonight was on this, and had a few people ask me about it. Although I would have thought it would be more, considering the fact that I've been talking about Charles as the soon-to-be biblical Antichrist for quite some time at this point. Maybe a year. I don't know. It's been a while. So let's look at this a little bit closer. And I know you guys, many of you have probably already seen some of the interesting findings, let's just say, that people are posting on the internet. King Charles' hellish new portrait sets the internet on fire. So this was posted on Tuesday after I had done the show last Sunday night, and then posted my show last week. And it's interesting. Let me just switch to this. Let's see here. Right here. This was the image of the show that I posted last week. This is last week's Sunday Night Live show. One World Religion, the Earth Charter. And guess who is front and center? And then the very next day, the story broke on this crazy painting with Charles. So yes, hellish red for sure. The satanic-looking painting of King Charles is an unusual choice because the British monarchy is struggling to survive, and Charles has been diagnosed with an unspecified cancer. King Charles's past is also under review, including his close friendship with Jimmy Savile, a prolific pedophile. Charles is at the forefront of the WEF, World Economic Forum. I would say he heads it up, and launched the Great Reset Plan in 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic. In 2022, Charles appeared to be urging for the empowerment of globalist elites, along with trillions in funding, so that they may solve the non-existent problem of global warming, which I just mentioned what that really was, under the threat of a military campaign. Obviously, he says it's real. I think it is real, but it is created by the geoengineers who are being employed by people like Charles and Bill Gates and others. So people have compared King Charles' new portrait in red to him being covered in blood or burning in hell. I would say that it goes beyond that. I told someone on Facebook the other day that I felt like this painting is how he sees himself in hell, perhaps, but certainly in charge in hell. If he's in Gehenna or in hell or whatever he perceives as his next life, note the military garb, he thinks he's going to be in charge. So that's what I think he thinks. Of course, I'm not in his mind, luckily. I'm just saying that's the impression I get. And of course, note the monarch butterfly above his right shoulder there. And if you look at it from a distance, it almost looks like a pointed tail kind of swooping up behind him a little bit. Just a little. So anyway, let's look at some of the other postings about this. This is on InfoWars. Satanic Evil Charles unveils hellish portrait. Social media recoils at satanic depiction of 75-year-old British monarch. King Charles personally unveiled a peculiar self-portrait Tuesday that depicts him in a fiery setting in what many are calling a demonic rendition. It's no accident. He sat for this on and off for, what was it, a year and a half? Something like that. There's a video on the Royal Family channel. I didn't queue it up here, but I could include it in the Substack post. And he knew all about it. Matter of fact, it was his idea. It was his idea to put the butterfly in the painting. He told the artist, and it comes out in that video that I'm talking about that's on the Royal Family channel. The artist who painted this said specifically that Charles asked him to put the butterfly in it. So yes, of course he knows about it. So, says the footage showed British monarch briefly spooked by the bizarre painting. I think he's just jumping out of the way of the screen, the little curtain falling here, because he knew what it was going to look like. He's not spooked by it. He knew exactly what it was going to be, and I would say that he probably even told the artist to use all of the red. I would guess that that's probably what's going on with that. So yes, says King Charles just unveiled the first official portrait of himself since the coronation. What the bloody heck is this? So anyway, here's some of the various tweets and things like this. Some people are saying it looks like Satan burning in hell. Yeah. Which, my Facebook post on the day that this happened said, yeah, this will really quell all of those people who are conspiracy theorists saying that he's going to be the biblical Antichrist. Yeah. This will squash that story. Nope. No, it won't. So, and then on Twitter, I found a few other things here. How come Baphomet forms when you put the painting next to itself? You can see it here. Somebody has doubled it, and you can see the face. See the face here in Baphomet. And I'm not going to play the audio in this one, but I think there's some music in it. But you can see how someone took this painting and simply applied a few graphic design type tools to it, and you can see how very easily one can use a mirror image or different effects and lighten and darken things, and voila, you get things like this. Transformed. It's evil, and it just gets more and more evil. So then there's a question of, okay, well, who planned all this? Because this is certainly beyond anything Charles or the artist himself could have even come up with. Yeah, William says the ugliest painting I've ever seen. Yeah, me too. So this is beyond something that could have been planned. Was it planned? Yes. Was it planned by humans? I don't think so. I think I would definitely at least put an educated guess out there that this was planned by Satan himself, because he knows that Charles will very soon be the biblical Antichrist. He knows that he will soon indwell this man, this human. So I think that he will become the biblical Antichrist at the moment he dies. At the moment Charles dies, whether it's from cancer, whether it's from some other thing that happens to him, I think that he will be resurrected at that point. I think that he will be indwelled by Satan, and that Satan knows this is his fingerprints. This is his fingerprints on Charles's life. This shows you how Charles is dedicated to Satan. And this wasn't even planned, but it's all coming out. We're seeing the evil in this painting. The Baphomet and the mirrored images and so forth. We're seeing it come out. And what I would liken it to is something. Well, I'm going to show you a video here that I think this will help sort of describe things. How not every nuance is planned, and people are saying, well, maybe AI was used to come up with some of these different designs in the unfolding of this and the mirror imagery and stuff of this painting. I don't think so. I think that I think it was definitely influence not of this world. I think it was Satan himself, or certainly the demonic world. So let's take a look at this video. And the reason I'm going to play this is a guy that you guys may know, Jonathan Kleck. Not talking about this, but what he's talking about here is how quite a few years ago at this point, he discovered that if you fold the American currency, the American dollar bills, $20 bills, $10 bills, things like that, a certain way, and you always use the same method of folding into a form of Baphomet. So you form it into a certain upside down triangle. And when you do, you get an image. And he talks about in his video how it wasn't planned by the different designers of the various bills. It was done by Lucifer, by Satan himself. So let's take a look at this. I think this will help explain things.
Okay, y'all ready? Let's do this. Let me show you something. This is a $20 bill that was this proof was made in 1996. There is the Twin Tower bombing that happened on 9/11. Okay, now when you turn this bill over, on the back of the bill, I'm going to frame it up. You know what? I'll do this because I want you guys to see. Just pay attention, watch. See you see the rectangular building with the explosion in the middle? That's the Pentagon. So the Lord God showed me the Pentagon. Now listen, the Twin Towers was shown to me in 2002 by my brother of all people, my brother Chris. And he goes, hey, have you seen this? Isn't that cool? And I was like, that's insane. And when I saw it, I knew instantly, that's the Twin Tower bombing. What the hell is a Twin Tower bombing doing printed on U.S. currency? Well, shortly after that, my brother actually said, isn't that cool? I was like, dude, are you freaking nuts? What's cool about that? That's insane. But then the Lord showed me very shortly after that all I had to do was turn the bill over and watch. There's the Pentagon on the other side. See the Pentagon right there? Nobody knew the Pentagon was on this thing. The Lord showed this to me in 2002. I'm going to show you the folder right now because the Lord wants me to establish right now absolutely that the other bombings are printed on the U.S. currency, the ones that have already happened, like the Pentagon, the Twin Towers, the federal building bombing in Oklahoma City. I'm going to prove to you that I'm holding them right here in my hand, and that Isaiah 29, 15, and 16 is what solved this riddle. That's how I came to this understanding. The Lord God showed me Isaiah 29, 15, and 16. I was freaking out. Who in the hell could possibly orchestrate this? Like, what are the architects get together with the guys that carve the plates that make the U.S. currency notes? I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, this is insane. And it took me understanding that Satan grabs a hold of all of them at his will in order to achieve this. And I could not understand it. It was like chasing a ghost. And then the Lord let me understand, no, just like Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Everyone's a puppet. And until you're converted, your whole life, you may think you know what you're doing, but Satan owns you and runs you. That's why you have to be converted. Unless you're converted, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said, unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God, because you see it just like I showed you the dragon. When I turn the virgin over, it shows I'm born again, and I can show you the virgin's the dragon. You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Who's the truth? Well, when you get inverted, you see Jesus. You see the truth, the Spirit of all truth, because you've been inverted. You understand? Now watch. Here we go. Okay, watch. Let's go to this folder right quick, and let's look at the U.S. currency notes. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. So let's start with the very most rudimentary one right here. Here is an image of the actual Twin Towers. I want you to look at the points of explosion. There's one up high and one down low. You see it? Okay, now let's go to what's in my hand. Whoa, wow, that's exactly right. Now, let me go on computer, because back then, what I did was I simply laid them over right on top on computer, and I was like, well, here, I'll take the actual note and put the actual Twin Towers. Look, there it is, right here and right here. Is someone trying to tell me that that's not the Twin Towers? Okay, well then you're deaf, dumb, and blind. In a minute, after I show you the Pentagon, I'm going to play a little thing from a guy named James Corbett, and let you just see how absolutely insane it really all is. Now, let me show you the Pentagon. So now, again, right here, take a look right here. You see this rectangular building right here? Let's enlarge it. There you go. There's the Pentagon right here. You're looking at it. And again, you're speaking to the person that the Lord God showed this to. Anyone else in the world that tries to take credit for this is a liar. The Lord God, the King of Kings, showed this to me in 2002. And by 2003, I had already gone through the Pentagon and the federal building bombing. And it wasn't until 2007 that the Lord poured a prophetic utterance through me. And that prophetic utterance would describe the new bombings that are on the new U.S. currency notes. What you're seeing on TV is the puppet show. What you're seeing right here is the real deal. This is going to happen. And they're staging, the puppet show is telegraphing what's going to happen. Okay, you see right here? That is the Pentagon right there, guys. There's the Pentagon bombing. Look, there's 1, 2, 3 rows of square windows. See, 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3 rows of square windows. Here's a rectangular white building. There's an explosion. There's 3 rows of square windows here. You can see the breach right here. Okay, you're telling me that somehow on one U.S. currency note just happens to have an image that looks just like the Twin Towers blowing up, and also an image that has just like the Pentagon blowing up, that just happens to be on one $20 bill that was made in 1996? And you think that's possible? Anyone that thinks that that's possible without being orchestrated is a delusional lunatic.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to play the whole video just because it's pretty long, and you guys get the idea, though. The point is that it's being orchestrated by another level, another dimension. I don't think it was necessarily the painting being manipulated by the painter. In fact, this guy is pretty well known, I guess, as being a painter of pedophilia and porn related things. So let's just say that he most likely already had his foot well into the demonic realm. So therefore, he could be easily influenced, right? So because of that, I think that helps explain how you get some of this really strange imagery. I think it's done from Satan's perspective. I think it's him. I think it's the demonic world that's able to put this on here. And kudos to all of the people who dove right into it and figured all this stuff out right away. I mean, instantly, within minutes, people were posting things on Twitter about, revealing the true evil of this painting, not only because of the way it was done, but just the extra dimensional layers within it. And you can see there's another video here that we're watching in silence here. But yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. Here is the scripture that Jonathan Kleck referred to. Woe to those who dig deep to hide their plans from the Lord. In darkness, they do their works and say, who sees us and who will know? You have turned things upside down, as if the potter were regarded as clay. Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, he did not make me? Can the pottery say of the potter, he has no understanding? So that is Isaiah. Isaiah 15, what is that? Isaiah 29, 15 through 16 is what that is. So anyway, I think that's pretty key and very interesting. And then as far as Charles being the Antichrist, this is one thing that I've shown many times, but not lately on the broadcast. This is the gematria in English and Hebrew. I did not come up with this. I'm simply reporting it. This is right out of Tim Cohen's book, The Antichrist in a Cup of Tea. This is the calculation, how he came up with it. I didn't come up with it. He did. Prince Charles of Wales, or Charles, Prince of Wales. You add those numbers together. Each number has a value in English as well as Hebrew. You get 666 in both English and Hebrew. The point of it is what the book of Revelation talks about. Revelation, was it 13:18? Talking about 666. Well, the point is to identify the human being who would be the biblical Antichrist, the beast, as referred to in the book of Revelation, and that is Charles, Prince of Wales. And then beyond this, well, this is the coronation invitation. I added the word Satan just because I felt like it fit. But this is the satanic coronation invitation from Charles. You'll note the green-headed monster down here. This is one of those things that we detailed and talked about back about a year ago, actually, whenever he was officially made king. I did a broadcast, and we talked a lot about not only this invitation, but just all of this stuff in general. So this is something that I've been talking about for a long time, because I feel like Tim Cohen is exactly right. Now, this is the coat of arms, or you could call it the heraldic achievement of Charles, Prince of Wales. Now, he has a different one now as King Charles, and it doesn't matter, because the point is, it was this particular one when he was the Prince of Wales that matters, because this is what the book of Revelation is talking about here. Look, Revelation 13 talks about the first beast. The beast I saw was like a leopard with feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. Right? Feet of a bear and mouth of a lion. Feet of a bear and mouth of a lion. And it says, and the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. And talks about the crowns and the horns and things like that. And this is something that Tim Cohen has been detailing in many, many broadcasts on his channel. And he goes through and explains how this heraldic achievement is being broken down here in the book of Revelation, and how this symbolism, this symbology, is what represents King Charles now, then at the time Prince Charles, who could be identified as the first beast in the book of Revelation. So I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting, and you guys can certainly you may take issue with that. I don't know. I'm just saying we need to keep our eyes on him. I don't think he is the biblical Antichrist quite yet, but you can see just from the painting that was revealed just a few days ago how evil the man is. And there's something that is steering him, and there's something that is controlling him, and it is certainly evil. And I thought this was pretty funny. New portrait of King Charles unveiled. There he is. You might recognize that. Anyways, so we can move on from this. I just wanted to kind of bring all that up again, because there's so much there, and we can do other shows on that as we move forward. And let's see, a couple comments here in chat. AC, the Antichrist isn't supposed to die before possession. They're supposed to survive a head wound. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The head wound sounds like it would be, as far as Scripture, what Scripture is saying is that it would be some sort of a weaponized head wound. It does talk about, in Scripture, it mentions a sword. Now, obviously, it's probably not really a sword. It's probably some sort of combative type of instrument. It could be a gun. It could be something like that, and some sort of weapon that's used against him. And of course, it's open for interpretation, but that verse is probably not cancer, is what I'm saying, because it does talk about a weapon. So I think it's something that we need to definitely keep an eye on, and if something happens to him, maybe Charles is already indwelled. However, we just don't know, and the point is that we just need to keep an eye on it and just see if in fact he is the one, which I believe he is. There probably will be something that will happen to him, and the world will believe, whether wrongly or correctly, the world will believe that he's dead and then he comes back. Won't that wow the world? And at that point, I think he will be a different person. Will he be younger somehow? Will he be somehow more appealing than he is now as a 75-year-old old codger? I don't know. Maybe. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? It's very interesting for sure. All right, let's keep a move on the news here. We've got a Slay News article. Packed Boeing passenger jet's engine bursts into flames during takeoff. So yet again, another plane mishap. This is in Indonesia, but still, it's Boeing yet again. You can see it going down the runway here, and then kaboom! The engine catches flame. Luckily, no one was hurt. It says the plane was forced to make an emergency landing after one of its engines bursts into flame during takeoff. But I'm sure it's a coincidence, right? Always is. And then let's look at the headlines on reclaimthenet.org. EU investigates Meta in crackdown on alleged rabbit hole effects. Wants it to push digital ID. Critics fear youth safety concerns will be a pretext for pushing increased censorship on Meta, which of course is Facebook and Instagram. Yep. You may have heard of them. A private de-Googled, freedom-focused Android distribution. A way to use Android without constantly sending data to Google. Might be good. Visa rolls out tech to share more data on customers' shopping history with retailers. The pilot program launches later this year amid debates on the erosion of privacy. Yep, it's just a myth. It never existed. Privacy, I mean. UK PM Sunak endorses facial recognition, implicitly backs mass bank surveillance. UK Prime Minister Sunak doesn't spare a thought for the loss of privacy and curbing of civil liberties. Nope. He's all for it because he is a globalist. Garland and Wray launch election threats task force, sparking censorship concerns for 2024. Yes, the election threats task force means any threat by way of an election that's a threat to them and their power. Amidst heightening scrutiny and looming elections, Garland and Wray's new plans on election security stir controversy and accusations of censorship. That's the whole purpose of it. EU's von der Leyen calls for more censorship amid re-election campaign. Von der Leyen's push for European Democracy Shield. European Democracy Shield. How about that? This is totally 1984. Raises censorship and bias concerns ahead of re-election bid. So anyway, those are the headlines on reclaimthenet.org. And then the next one on Liberty Beacon I've got pulled up. George Washington warned against a passionate attachment. Well, he didn't warn about a passionate attachment directly to Israel. However, that's where this is going in this article. Here's what was actually said. It says, as war rages in Gaza, the intensifying debate over the U.S.-Israel relationship spotlights a political Paradox. Those Americans who view George Washington with deepest reverence, that is, would-be conservatives, are often the ones who most zealously violate the central tenet of his foreign policy philosophy. Specifically, their fierce devotion to the state of Israel defies Washington's admonition against passionate attachments, quote unquote, passionate attachments to other countries, attachments that he said inevitably lead America astray from its duty and its interest. So yes, he was just warning about passionate attachments to other countries, and you can safely say the U.S. has a passionate attachment to Israel. Super dangerous, as you guys know. Closer to nuclear war. It's important that we keep in mind why the U.S. continues to move ever closer to the possibility of all-out nuclear war with Russia. This is also on the Liberty Beacon. I can't help but wonder what proponents of America's participation in the old Cold War dinosaur known as NATO are thinking about NATO officials who are contemplating sending NATO military personnel into Ukraine to train Ukrainian troops in their war against Russia. Those who relish the idea of nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia undoubtedly must be ecstatic over the possibility of such a move. It has been clear for some time that Ukraine is losing its war with Russia. Yeah, ever since Russia rolled over the border. That's how quickly it was clear, at least to me. Ukraine has lost countless young soldiers, and their frontline troops are now largely composed of middle-aged men. Its production has plummeted. Its supply of weapons is low, which is why it continues to desperately seek replacement weapons from the U.S. Ukrainian forces continue to retreat, and there is the increasing possibility that Russian forces will achieve a breakthrough in Ukrainian defense lines. Obviously, feeling desperate over the battlefield situation, European officials within NATO are contemplating sending military personnel into Ukraine to help train Ukrainian soldiers. They're already doing it. This is something Hal Turner's been reporting on for some time. That's been going on for many, many months. But wouldn't that put NATO and Russia into direct military conflict? After all, what happens if a Russian missile kills a bunch of NATO soldiers inside Ukraine? That's already happening. Anyway, let's see here. It looks like some of this info may not really be that new. However, this is an interesting perspective, so it might be worth a read. This is on the Liberty Beacon. And then here is RT. I mentioned it earlier. Let's take a look at the headlines. Well, this article I have pulled up here. U.S. issues gay events terror attack warning. So we've got the month of June coming up here in a few days. It says the State Department advisory says foreign terrorist organizations, quote unquote, could strike during upcoming Pride Month celebrations. That's kind of a fair upfront warning, if you ask me. It looks like they're going to do it themselves, and then they're going to agent provocateur these kinds of things, possibly, and have some terror attacks on some of these different parades or whatever. And then, of course, blame whoever they want, which would be, of course, who? Trump supporters, conservatives, Christians, and the like. So get ready. This is coming. Watch for this next month. There's an increased risk of terrorist attacks at LGBTQ ABCXYZ events worldwide in the coming weeks. The U.S. Department of State has warned. So you know when they do that, they're going to do it themselves and blame us and others. So just get ready. So that's why I pulled this article up. That's on RT.com. As far as, let's see here, the homepage on RT, I wanted to see if there was any other information on the Iranian president. Helicopter with Iranian president on board suffers hard landing. Live updates. I think it was a little more than a hard landing. Fico's condition no longer life-threatening, so that's good. The Slovakian prime minister might make it, looks like. So we'll get to that here in a few minutes as well. So yeah, RT.com, pretty good if you can get your browser to cooperate with you and show it to you. Sometimes it will warn you and tell you, hey, this is Russian disinformation. You shouldn't even look at it. Anyway, I know they don't like RT links on Facebook, for instance. Pretty interesting. Deadly storms turn from Texas toward the Gulf states. So you guys have probably seen some of these huge electric towers, these huge power towers that have been literally folded up like pretzels. A storm system already linked to 4 deaths in Houston area was set to sweep through states on the Gulf Coast on Friday night. All right, peoplesvoice.tv. We've got some article headlines. We'll just read through them real quick. The black Doctor Who actor says white supremacy is to blame for terrible audience ratings. No, it's because it's a terrible idea, and they're remaking something that's a cult classic, Doctor Who, which I'm not really a fan, but I know a lot of people that are. And, of course, why wouldn't it be not well received? Why wouldn't it be? But, yeah, he's blaming white supremacy. Not a bad script or bad acting or any of that stuff. It's never their fault. Pope Francis demands Biden keep U.S. border wide open. It's the Christian thing to do. To be invaded and to be conquered. It's the Christian thing to do. Yes. He should know, because he's the world's number one Christian, isn't he? No. He might be one of the world's number one Satanists. UK government admits embedding anti-free speech agents inside social media companies. Government advisors say smart water meters should be compulsory in the UK. Pope says U.S. border must be open. The migrant has to be received. Never mind the Vatican with its walls all around it. But we have to have our front door wide open, just not him. Biden calls illegals crossing the border Hispanic voters. Well, that's actually true. He said something that's true. Trump demands Biden take a drug test before the debate. He said that he was high as a kite at the State of the Union, Trump said. Probably so. They have to pump him full of drugs just to make him make a little bit of sense, I would think. Those are the headlines on the peoplesvoice.tv. So, and then information liberation. Let's look at these headlines too real quick. Israeli president lied about Shani Luke being beheaded by Hamas. The complete body was returned. So yeah, this is more about the October 7th mess that happened over there. The WAPO, wealthy Jewish donors pushed NYC mayor to launch NYPD crackdown on Columbia protesters. House Republicans with Democrat support passed a bill to force Biden to send Israel bombs. Yes, because Israel needs more armaments, obviously. Daniel Perry pardoned in Texas for shooting an AK-47 wielding BLM protester. Wow. CNN identifies Zionist mob who attacked student protesters at UCLA. Blinken delivers tone-deaf guitar performance at a bar in Kiev. Yep. One of those you shouldn't quit your day job kind of things, but he should definitely quit his day job too. He should quit playing guitar, and he should also quit his day job. So yeah, there's some good articles on informationliberation.com. Good website. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is another one I came across a little while ago. Whitney Webb. Bankers use climate scam in Latin America to introduce digital currency globally. So this is on needtoknow.news. Wall Street bankers, intelligence agencies from the U.S., U.K., and Israel, tech billionaires, and other powerful interests developed a scheme, Green Plus, to entangle local governments across Latin America to take control of vast swaths of public lands for use as carbon credits. The ultimate objective is to monetize air, water, and other resources as commodities. Yep. And we're going to get carbon credits. Isn't that fun? The currency in Argentina has been devalued, and people are being pushed into dollar-denominated stablecoins like Tether that allows the FBI to spy on users. The goal is programmable currency, whether it's issued by central banks or private companies, that allows bankers to control the money and the spending over all people. That's the whole idea. Every capital city of Latin America has eagerly signed on, unaware of the strings attached. Well, I think they're aware. to the partnerships, paving the way for a sweeping surveillance apparatus tied to American intelligence under the guise of combating climate change. Yes. So they create the problem using geoengineering. If there is a problem with the climate, that's why we have one, not because there was a problem before that. And then they come in with the solution. Digital currency, full control over everything. All right, reclaimthenet.org. Here is another article from that site. A different one, though. I didn't mention it earlier. Biden's cybersecurity plan vows to support development of a digital identity ecosystem. Biden White House has come up with an updated version of U.S. National Cybersecurity Strategy Implementation Plan that, unlike the first, addresses the issue and commits to supporting development of a digital ID ecosystem. Yes, that does not sound good. The initiative is included in the document as one of the strategic objectives, the stated goal being to advance research and guidance that supports innovation in the digital identity ecosystem through public and private collaboration. The old public-private partnership situation sounds like. National Institutes of Standards and Technology, NIST, has been entrusted with doing that work. Listed as contributing entities are the DHS and the General Services Administration. Strategic Objective 4.5, support development of a digital identity ecosystem. Yeah, that does not sound good. Anyway, that's on Reclaim the Net. ReclaimTheNet.org is where that one is. Singularity Hub, Google and Harvard map a tiny piece of the human brain with extreme precision. Really? Scientists just published the most detailed map of a cubic millimeter of the human brain. Smaller than a grain of rice, the mapped section of brain includes over 57,000 cells, 230 millimeters of blood vessels, and 150 million synapses in a piece the size of a grain of rice. And it took them how long to do this? It says the project, a collaboration between Harvard and Google, is looking to accelerate connectomics, the study of how neurons are wired together over a much larger scale. Our brains are like a jungle. Yes, but God created it, and we shouldn't be messing with it, if you ask me. Neuron branches crisscross regions, forming networks that process perception, memories, and even consciousness. Blood vessels tightly wrap around these branches to provide nutrients and energy. Other brain cell types form intricate connections with neurons, support the brain's immune function, and fine-tune neural network connections. Yes, so they have mapped a whole cubic millimeter of a human brain. And we're supposed to entrust them with everything else. Like, for instance, what is it the globalists and the futurists want, where they are going to impart their consciousness into the computer system and live forever, right? Yeah, right. And they just now mapped a piece of a brain the size of a grain of rice. We're supposed to trust them. All right, from MSN, this is an interesting one. Cars being allowed off Pelican Island hours after a barge collided with the bridge. So yet again, cars were being allowed to cross the Pelican Island Bridge in Galveston one at a time Wednesday evening, hours after a barge hit it in one of the span supports, causing a partial collapse. So I think this is probably just another accident. If you say otherwise, you are a conspiracy theorist. The lift bridge, which spans the west end of the Galveston Ship Channel, connects Galveston Island with Pelican Island, the home of Texas A&M University at Galveston. The crash also resulted in an oil spill. Where's the environmentalists yelling about this? It also resulted in an oil spill, the city said in its news release. The Coast Guard is working to determine the extent of the spill and will contain it and clean it up. I'm sure they will. Anyway, it says no injuries were reported, so that's good. So a barge smashing into a bridge, knocking down another support column. Seems to be a theme. I think we're seeing a lot of those. What do you think? All right, this is Fico, or however you say his name. Again, no disrespect. I don't know if it's FICO or FICO. He is borrowing from Trump. The rise of Robert Fico, Slovakia's populist leader. So therefore, they have to get rid of him, or at least try. Sounds like they weren't successful, though, according to the article the headline I just mentioned a little while ago on RT, saying that he's more or less out of the woods. Says the veteran politician shot and wounded on Wednesday is a fan of Viktor Orban and has embraced ever more extreme positions to retain power. So yeah, Slovakia's populist Prime Minister Robert Fico, who was shot and wounded on Wednesday, is a burly and brash political veteran known for his attacks on the media. 59. He's 59. Is well known to voters and observers and critics who accuse him of seeking to emulate Viktor Orban. So yes, I hope Viktor Orban hope he's got some good people around him, because who knows, they could try something like that with him too. Anyway, that article's on The Guardian. Revolver.news. Congress is quietly trying to put DEI quotas back into college admissions in every aspect of human life, every aspect of American life. They hope you don't notice. Yes. Says when the Supreme Court put the brakes on Harvard's race-based admission practices, the backlash from the left was loud. What else is new? However, the bulk of the American people agree with the Supreme Court, and while the left is very loud, they are actually a vocal minority, convinced they have some moral authority to dictate the rules the rest of us live by. Despite how unpopular the DEI movement is, the left is pushing to reinstate this unfair practice in college and all over the U.S. with a sneaky legislative move. A bill currently slithering its way through Congress will embed racial, gender, and religious quotas into nearly every part of American life. Housing, employment, healthcare, insurance, and credit decisions are all on the chopping block and is set to become a battlegrounds for DEI if this new bill passes. Here's the kicker. This push is disguised as a bipartisan, quote, victory for privacy rights. It's not at all. But it's so cleverly disguised that once again, Republicans have been duped into believing they're championing, they're part of it. They're not being duped. Have been duped into believing they're championing a long overdue resolution to privacy disputes that have already thrown their support behind it. Yeah. So DEI quotas in pretty much everything. It sounds like housing, employment, healthcare, insurance, and credit decisions. So something to be on the watch for. Definitely keep an eye on that. U.S. sending nuclear-powered carrier for high-stakes Red Sea mission. Since the start of the Gaza war, at least 20 ships have been damaged in the Red Sea amid the ongoing Houthi campaign to punish Israel and its international backers. The U.S.-led Operation Prosperity Guardian is something which has retreated from headlines as it has, by and large, proved ineffective. It says U.S. warships patrolling waters off Yemen have shot down dozens or possibly even hundreds of drones and missiles at this point, while also at times carrying out offensive operations, but the Iran-supported Houthis have remained undeterred. The Pentagon is now readying the next step, sending the USS Harry Truman, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, into the Red Sea. U.S. military magazine Stripes writes of recent planning, the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier and its 6,000-some sailors have spent recent months training in the Western Atlantic for that mission, a rare pre-planned deployment expected to take the ship into a hostile environment. So yes, the USS Harry Truman. That article is on Zero Hedge. Good site. And then leohoman.com. This is one that I mention pretty much every week. New article from him. Public service announcement says foreign terrorist organizations and their supporters likely heightened threat environment during the 2024 Pride Month. So this is what I was talking about a little while ago. It says the FBI and DHS are issuing this public service announcement to provide awareness to the public of foreign terrorist organizations or their supporters' potential targeting of LGBTQIA plus related events and venues. Foreign terrorist organizations or supporters may seek to exploit increased gatherings associated with the upcoming June 2024 Pride Month. FTO efforts to commit or inspire violence against holiday celebrations include Pride celebrations or LGBTQIA related venues are compounded by the current Biden FBI issues terror alert warning of Islamic attack on U.S. Pride Month events without mentioning Islam. So this is actually kind of drilling down a little bit further. They're blaming Muslims or Islam, and which may or may not be true. Who knows what they'll actually do? But yeah, this is definitely something to keep an eye on next month. And it's unfortunately they have a whole month of celebrating Pride, one of the 7 deadly sins, right? But yeah, they've converted it into an entire holiday and an entire way of life. Yep. And what took down Lucifer? What was it? French officials approve AI video surveillance for Taylor Swift concerts ahead of the 24 Olympics. Well, of course they do. I mean, why not? It says pop superstar Taylor Swift had her concert in Paris guarded by AI-powered video surveillance as the city prepares for heightened security risks during the Summer Olympics. French police deployed this technology at 2 Paris metro stations used by fans attending the concert. The decision to deploy the video system was justified by the heightened risk of acts of terrorism, according to Euronews. The AI system was installed in preparation for the Olympics, scheduled in July and in August. The algorithms deployed for real-time surveillance detect suspicious or potentially dangerous events, including weapons, fire, bodies on the ground, abandoned packages, and abnormal crowd behaviors. So, yes, and then you can also throw in Taylor Swift. That's a little odd, too. So that's on winepressnews.com. And then, let's see, Walmart deploys aerial delivery drones across the U.S., but the service is laughable. We believe 2024 is a year of drone delivery, said CEO of Wing. The supermarket mega chain, Walmart, recently announced they would be expanding their drone delivery services to 4 new locations in several Texas towns. I can't believe people wouldn't be target practicing with these things. This expansion will bring the ultimate convenience of drone delivery to communities across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Customers will have access to a broad assortment of items from Walmart available for delivery to their home in just minutes, unless, of course, it crashes and burns. Then, of course, they wouldn't be able to have their delivery. It says drone delivery is not just a concept of the future, it's happening now. Anyway, I don't buy it. I think people will be taking them down just because they can. Don't you guys? That's on Wine Press News. House Rep Thomas Massey introduces bill to end and audit the Federal Reserve. Yeah, good luck with that one. Congressman Thomas Massey, Republican, Kentucky, has introduced a bill that would end the Federal Reserve, break apart its board members, audit its assets, and redistribute them into the possession of the U.S. Treasury Department. It's a noble cause, but it will go nowhere. It's my guess. But anyway, there is quite a bit of info here on this article, and we'll link to this and all the others in the Substack post that I do on Tuesday. Why Tuesday, you say? Well, because Monday is the day that I do the post-production on this show and put this video up on the various platforms. So it will go on the different video platforms, and then I need those links so that I can put those links for the videos up with all the articles in a Substack post, so I can send you guys one email on Tuesday versus multiple emails. So that's what we'll do. NATO Chief Stoltenberg endorses International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. So yes, NATO apparently has nothing better to do. It says on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg took to social media to support the LGBTQ plus IA whatever community by endorsing, just call them the Skittles crowd. The Skittles crowd by endorsing the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, I've never heard of that, and Transphobia. Biphobia. Fear of the number 2, maybe? Is that what that is? NATO exists to defend 32 nations and our people's right to live freely and in peace. Does it? Is that what their job is? I somehow doubt that. Anyway, article on Wine Press News, and then I've got a bunch of their articles pulled up today, I guess. Bread and circuses, Biden and Trump agree to historically early presidential debates in June. Yes, it will be highly controlled, at least on the Biden side. Fake President Biden and former President Trump have both accepted an invitation from CNN, and of course they haven't chosen sides, no, not at all, to debate on June 27th, so circle your calendars. A historically early showdown that will set the tone for the final months of the 2024 campaign. Too funny. We will see. We will see. I'm not sure that'll happen, but if it does, man, that will be pretty funny. I think it would be funny if he gets him to take a drug test, but of course, that'll never happen. But that was one thing that he stated recently. It says, I've received and accepted an invitation from CNN for a debate on June 27th. Over to you, Donald. As you said, anywhere, anytime, any place, Biden said in a post on X. Yeah, right. He'll have to be so hopped up on something intense to be able to even form complete sentences. It will be astonishing, I'm sure. So whatever. We'll see what happens. Alabama becomes second state to ban lab-grown meat. Last week, the state of Alabama followed in Florida's footsteps to ban the sale of and production of cell-cultured meat products grown in the laboratory. So, way to go, Alabama. Peru officially classifies trans and intersex people as mentally ill. Well, they probably won't be joining NATO, just a guess. With just weeks away from International Pride Month, Peru decided to stir up the beehive by officially classifying transgenderism and intersex identities as mentally ill, which of course they are. They were born one way, they think there's something else, they have a mental deficiency. And you can't really put them in mental hospitals anymore because I don't think they even exist. What happened to all the mental hospitals? Well, they let all the mental patients out and they're running everything now. That's what happened to them. Pretty funny that they're doing that in Peru, though. Wow. Pretty gutsy. NYC Mayor Eric Adams says illegals could be contracted as lifeguards because they're excellent swimmers. Makes sense? Yeah, they have to swim across the river to get here. The Rio Grande, right? New York City Mayor Adams recently claimed that perhaps the city should employ a number of illegal aliens as lifeguards because he says they're great swimmers. That sounds pretty racist. Doesn't it sound racist to you? I mean, could you imagine if Trump said something like that? So they would just twist and turn it and however they wanted. Pretty funny. They're good swimmers. So, of course, they should be lifeguards. Yes. And then back to the guy who needs to quit his day job and his guitar gig. Secretary Blinken rocks out on stage at bar in Ukraine, playing Rockin' in the Free World in Ukraine. During his latest visit to Ukraine, Secretary of State Blinken was seen jamming on stage and playing a guitar on stage with the Ukrainian band at a bar, playing to the tune of Neil Young's iconic Rockin' in the Free World. I'm sure Neil Young was all for it. He's a super big Biden supporter. So, yeah. Pretty funny. He's a lefty, too. Can tell by the way he's holding his guitar. Anyway, very strange. Got a bunch of Gateway Pundit articles pulled up. Of course, you know it's time for dads and grads, right? About time for dads and grads, at least. Well, watch. Brawl breaks out on stage at Tennessee High School graduation after student flashes gang signs. I clicked on it earlier just to see where it was, and it was in Memphis, of course. Developing, chaos erupts after 2 people were shot at a high school graduation in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. So there you go. More fun at graduations. People getting shot and beat up. So, and then that's just the headlines. You guys can look at the articles if you're interested. Justice says Christian teacher fired for refusing to use students' preferred pronouns wins massive settlement from California school district. Hard to believe. And it's in California. A former high school teacher who was fired for refusing to use students' preferred pronouns has been awarded a $360,000 settlement from the Jurupa Unified School District in California. The lawsuit, filed in May 2023 by Advocates for Faith and Freedom, was a response to the firing of Jessica Tapia, a gym teacher who refused to follow the district's pronoun policy back in 2022. Tapia's refusal was based on her Christian beliefs, which she cited as the reason for not accommodating students' gender identities. I can't believe you can say that in a California court. Anyway, and then says the details here. Gateway Pundit reported on Tapia's case in February 2023 when she told Fox News in an interview that the pronoun policy had forced her to decide whether to abide by the school's immoral code or stay true to her faith. So congratulations to Tapia and the Alliance Defending Freedom for their amazing victory. Yeah, that'll probably get appealed. That's my guess. Maybe. Maybe not. It is California after all. Speaking of which, Governor Newsom gaslighting boasts lawless California is the national model on solving homelessness. So if you live in California and you see all those people on the streets, they're not homeless, according to Gavin Newsom. Says he's either delusional, yep, he's that, or gaslighting people, or both. He's both, I think. Speaking at an event this week to announce a $3.3 billion fund to help California tackle homelessness, Newsom boasted that his state served as the national model for solving the issue. The state of California saw a decline in veterans' homelessness. He said, we have a national model. Yes, probably because you're killing them off. You're killing them. It says in March, California voters approved Proposition 1, which aims to expand mental health treatment to those living on the streets, as well as provide housing for those at risk of becoming homeless. What Prop 1 did is that it reinforced that model, provided more resources to advance that model, and we're very excited to get those dollars to work, Newsom explained. Despite his boastful rhetoric, California is widely acknowledged to have the most serious homelessness problem in the entire country, with many areas more reminiscent of an apocalyptic film than one of the wealthiest places on earth. An audit carried out last month found that the state has spent a staggering $24 billion on homeless programs, only for the problem to keep getting worse. I would add, on purpose. There are currently an estimated 180,000 homeless people across the state, amounting to a 53% rise over the last decade. Most of which has been headed up by Democrats. No, I think all of which has been headed up by Democrats. Not that it matters. Republicans are just as bad. Slovakian PM Robert Fico was a thorn in the side of Ukraine funding and EU NATO admission, and an avid supporter of Slovakian sovereignty. So he was a real problem child for the powers that be. And turns out he got shot. So, gee, I wonder why. Yesterday, a lone wolf gunman, this article is dated May 16th, so it happened on the 15th. Lone wolf gunman, it's always a lone wolf. A gunman attempted to assassinate the pro-Trump Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico. He's reportedly in critical but stable condition after 5 shots were fired at point-blank range. Says it was unconfirmed media reports. It was a 71-year-old retiree and an amateur poet. So yeah, but he probably wasn't hired by any of the Western regimes. No, not at all. He was a lone gunman. They always are. So back to the whole pride thing for just a second. Here it is, Apple's latest iOS. You guys using Apple products? The latest iOS 17.5 update coerces millions of Americans into downloading LGBTQ propaganda with the phone update. Apple Inc. once again sparked outrage with its latest iOS update, this time by pushing LGBTQ-themed content onto its millions of users through a mandatory software update. Yeah, there's no getting around them. You have to take them if you want to keep using your phone. Which I don't have an iPhone, so, but you know, obviously many of you out there probably do. It says on Tuesday the tech giant rolled out an update that introduced a new set of Pride Radiance wallpaper, isn't that lovely, that many see as a coercive push of LGBTQ propaganda. I would say because that's exactly what it is. So anyway, just be on the lookout for the new Pride update for your phone. So your phone's officially going to be gay. The next update. It's going to download its gayness. That might be what I call this show. Download gayness. Breaking. Minnesota Republican Convention finally endorses retired NBA player Royce White as 2024 U.S. Senate candidate. So good for Royce. I've mentioned Royce before on this show. He has a really good presence on Twitter. And you should follow him. He's doing good work out there. He's got a good podcast too. It's called, I forget the name of it. I wish I could remember it. Well, here, I can look it up. I know where it is. It's on band.video, which of course is banned many places. That's why it's called band.video. It's worth mentioning because he's doing a really good job. I think it's called something like Call Me Crazy or something like that. Here it is right here. Royce White, yeah, Call Me Crazy. So you can find him on band.video. It's actually band.video/channel/Royce, ROYCE -White. Call Me Crazy. Anyway, he's doing a really good job, I think, and he's got some good interviews here and lots of sports people and then others. And here's a show he did on Creature from Jekyll Island, for instance. So he seems like a really interesting guy, former NBA player. And yeah, he's apparently has been officially endorsed by the Minnesota Republican Convention because he is running for U.S. Senate. It says Minnesota Republican Convention on Saturday officially endorsed White as 2024 U.S. Senate candidate. See, I think he's going up against what's her face? Let's see. Yeah, Tlaib. So yeah. Anyway, the state party's decision to back White came at the Minnesota GOP convention in St. Paul. White, former professional basketball player, was introduced on stage at the convention by former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. But anyway, I think White's doing a good job personally, so hopefully he'll get in. Who knows? But yeah, I think he's running for the seat that is currently occupied by Rashid Tlaib. So that would be good to get her out of there. I brought this one up for Miss Emily. She's here. Landmark Las Vegas casino closing, demolition scheduled for this year. I don't know if you guys knew about this. They're gonna drop the. It says the Mirage. The Mirage Hotel is closing in July, ending a 34-year run as a landmark on the Vegas Strip. So that's too bad. Anyway, they're gonna. I guess they're going to. Are they gonna blow it up? Let's see. Hard Rock International Hard Rock International said the hotel, which was bought in 22, will close July 17th. So that's when it's going to be no more. The Hard Rock Hotel and Casino and Guitar Hotel, Las Vegas, will take the place of the Mirage. So yeah, surely they'll implode it, I'm guessing. Probably says in here somewhere. And you may already know about this, I don't know, but I just thought this kind of interesting. Anyway, yeah, the Mirage. Landmark for sure. Just in, Boeing whistleblower John Barnett's suicide note revealed. I saw this and I'm like, yeah, right. Did they just write the suicide note after they already killed him? Is that what happened? Well, I don't know. I still think that this should certainly be looked at a little closer. Maybe they have already. I don't know. They're saying here, the coroner saying that the manner in which he died is best deemed a suicide. So, of course, he can be paid to say that. I'm not saying otherwise. However, the family is saying they don't believe he would have committed suicide. But here's the crazy letter, and this is really strange. I don't know if if it's true or not. Obviously, it could have been written after the fact or planted on his body after he was no longer with us. But look at some of these things on his suicide note. I can't do this any longer. Enough. Trump 2024. So, I mean, why wouldn't somebody that wanted to do him in write that on there? Trump 2024. And then F, and then blank blank K Boeing, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Family and friends, I love you all. And I wasn't stoned when I wrote this, really. That's what it says up the right-hand side up here. America, come together or die. Whistleblowers protection is effed up too. So, who knows? I don't really know what to make of it other than, it does say authorities have authenticated the handwriting as belonging to Barnett. Only his fingerprints were found on the notebook. So that's kind of interesting. So did the guy really commit suicide? I don't know. He was out there exposing what Boeing is doing. And then, I mentioned a few weeks ago that there was yet another Boeing whistleblower who's been found dead as well. That guy's not mentioned in this article, I don't think. But anyways, yeah, supposedly he shot himself. So I don't know. Who knows? I just thought it was kind of peculiar, especially to show the note. Notice we haven't seen any of the not suicide note, but any of the manifesto come out from the Nashville shooter, from the trans shooter. And yet we have this, and it says Trump 2024 on it. I don't think the Nashville shooter was a Trump voter, though, do you? Just a guess. And, of course, she killed quite a few people. He supposedly only killed himself. So, who knows? I thought the whole thing was a little weird. And then, just in, man who attacked Paul Pelosi, remember this? Sentenced to 30 years in federal prison after Nancy Pelosi urged the judge to give him a very long sentence. David DePape, the man who broke into Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home and beat her husband Paul with a hammer, was sentenced to 30 years in prison. I'm sure you guys remember this story. Yeah, and they were both parading around in their underwear. Yep. And this guy gets 30 years. He broke into Pelosi's San Francisco residence and attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer. When police arrived at the residence, Paul Pelosi opened the door. Shortly after that, he fractured Paul Pelosi's skull. He beat him. So, and there was video, obviously, from the police officers' cameras that they were wearing. So, yeah, again, and I'll say the rule. You're supposed to remember this rule. And I mentioned it before. We just have to keep saying it. Rule number 1, you don't talk about Gay Hammer Fight Club. If he had just remembered that rule, he wouldn't be in prison for 30 years. You don't talk about Gay Hammer Fight Club. Wild weather. Powerful storms turn downtown Houston into the apocalypse and send residents fleeing in terror. At least 4 people dead. So yeah, this is more about the crazy weather, which you guys may have seen some of these video clips and stuff posted. And I'll link to this if you haven't seen it. It's certainly worth watching. It's pretty crazy. Straight line winds. Knocking out power. I guess a lot of Houston may even still be without power. At least 4 people were killed Thursday night in Houston as powerful storms swept through the city, causing severe flooding and extensive property damage. It says of 4 people who were killed, they were killed by falling trees. And a third died when a crane blew over. Wow. So yeah, it was hit downtown Houston apparently. So anyway, kind of wacky, but yep, that's what happens when you have geoengineering systems in place. You get all kinds of strange anomalies. So anyway, certainly worth a look on Gateway Pundit. And then video number 4 is out on this Zelensky series that Truth in Media has put out, Who Really Blew Up the Nord Stream Pipeline. Episode 4 focuses on the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline with a focus on Seymour Hersh's bombshell expose. It also explores the history behind the pipeline and why it posed such a threat to the United States. So that's the newest article, the newest video, I should say, on Truth in Media. I have not seen that one yet, but I've seen the first 3, and they were done really well. So yeah, truthinmedia.com for that. And then let's see. On Activist Post, I wanted to look a little closer at this first article. Let's look at the headlines. Why is the MSM suddenly pushing fluoride propaganda? I mentioned fluoride just last week. And now here's an article about it. Says, is fluoride the new anti-vax? The push to remove fluoride from public water systems seems to be fueled by mistrust of government oversteps and misleading claims that the mineral is harmful. It's not a mineral. It's a corrosive. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid is what we're talking about here, not fluoride the mineral. That's not what's good for your teeth, supposedly. Hydrofluorosilicic acid is not good for your teeth. It's not good for anything. It's literally industrial waste. Anyway, there is an article about this, which is kind of strange because I was just talking about fluoride last week on the show. It says DHS and TSA adjust digital strategies with biometrics and facial recognition. First images of American taxpayers' $350 million completed Gaza pier. So I mentioned this pier just a little while ago in the Zero Hedge article. I think it was. And here it is right here, talking about the first images. Let's take a look at them. So $350 million. The Pentagon is proud, and so is the Biden administration. But the U.S. taxpayer? Not so much. It says it's unique, we're told, and it only cost about $350 million to go from here to here. Wow. What a deal. Probably got a bargain basement price on it. So this is the other article I wanted to look at a little closer. It says, why is nobody else talking about the MITRE Corporation? You ever heard of the MITRE Corporation? Many participants in our noble anti-geoengineering movement, people possibly such as yourself, definitely me, appear to be confused as to exactly who is spraying us, while answers to this question are extensively detailed in this guy's book. Among many other heavily implicated organizations, one stands out as the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, the MITRE Corporation. The evidence for their building and maintaining the many technical aspects of today's ongoing SRM geoengineering operations is simply legion. So I don't think I'd ever heard of the MITRE Corporation, have you? Evidence suggests that the MITRE Corporation has been in charge of the new Manhattan Project's systems architecture. System architecture refers to the organization and harmonization of all the different scientific new Manhattan Project sub-operations, such as operation of the ionospheric heaters, like HARP, control of the aircraft, collection of atmospheric data, satellite communications, etc. MITRE can make all these things work together and create an elegant end-user experience to boot. Isn't that nice? Well, they're in Massachusetts, apparently. Here's what I thought was interesting, kind of beyond that. MITRE Corporation has extensive involvement in just about every sub-operation of the new Manhattan Project, from satellite communications to atmospheric monitoring to remotely controlling fleets of airplanes. So it may not be that many humans up there flying those planes that are doing the spraying, which is something I've been saying for years. Remotely controlling fleets of airplanes to supercomputing to operating ionospheric heaters, again like HARP. Supercomputing. And that brought to mind the interview and video that I did with Mr. Anthony Patch back in 2019. So 11, 16, 19, we made a video together where I interviewed him. I don't really do interviews, but this was a Diamond Report show back in November of 2019. Quantum computers are driving global geoengineering programs, with special guest Anthony Patch. So I will link to this in my Substack post. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's pretty short. Well, it's under an hour. And Mr. Patch goes into a lot of details here, and this is something that really struck me back about that time, I guess, 2019, that, of course, I mean, you have companies like Raytheon and Boeing and others that are the usual suspects that are involved in the military-industrial complex. Of course, they're using quantum computers to some degree, and Anthony concurred. He went into quite a long explanation as to what quantum computing even is, and then beyond that, how it could be used in a system like the geoengineering programs that are going on. So this is MITRE, and this is talking about supercomputing, which is not the same as quantum computing, I'll give you that, but that's pretty close. Supercomputing to operating the ionospheric heaters like HARP. MITRE can do it all. The new Manhattan Project is operationally right up their alley, so much so that it makes one wonder if the MITRE Corporation was created specifically to be the new Manhattan Project's development coordinator and technical manager. So I didn't know if you'd ever heard of the MITRE Corporation. I had not, believe it or not. And I've been in this movement for a long time, over 10 years at this point. Never heard of them. But I did want to bring your attention to this video in case you want to happen to watch it. Quantum computers are driving global geoengineering programs. We have some pretty good evidence in that video. And then the other thing is, this is the company that I was familiar with, and this is a report that Dane Wigington put together on Geoengineering Watch several years back now. This is the website of American Elements, and I've mentioned this company on the show before, on this show. And American Elements is a company I was familiar with that does not really the same thing as the MITRE Corporation. This is more of a supplier, what you would consider a supplier to somebody like the MITRE Corporation. American Elements, you can look right here, they specialize in making nanoparticulates like aluminum. I've got it pulled up here on the website. So American Elements is a company that might very well be supplying the nanoparticles of aluminum that we're all breathing in, and it's all crossing our blood-brain barriers, and it's all making its way all throughout our bodies. our systems. So thank you, American Elements, for ruining our health. Because it's companies like this, if not just them, it's companies like this who are doing this evil bidding of companies like MITRE. So something to take a look at. I think it's good to have names to put with faces, right? So anyway, yeah, American Elements is the other website, AmericanElements.com. If you want to poke around, there it is. All right. So before we get into this, let me play a video, give my voice a little break here for a sec, and I'm going to come back and talk about CERN. Got some important updates with CERN, and I think this is something that we need to definitely keep in mind. But before we get to CERN, let's watch this other video here on Charles. This is back to the painting. Again, really important stuff, but I think it's something you need to take a look at. Again, considering, is Charles going to be the biblical Antichrist? Yeah, and he talked about all the AI-generated fractals. Like I said earlier, I don't think it was AI at all. I think it was literally Satan in the demonic realm at work in that painting. So that's the only disagreement I have. I think a lot of what he said, though, was right on. So anyway, I thought you guys would think that was pretty interesting. He showed a few more visuals of the portrait that I didn't show earlier. So I thought that was a good, more well-rounded video of the satanic painting. So anyway, yeah, let's take a look at this. This is, I think, somewhat interesting, and I've happened on some interesting info here that I wanted to impart. So this is the CERN schedule. This was provided by Mr. Anthony Patch, who is, I would say, probably maybe the most well-known CERN expert out there, who doesn't work for CERN, never has, and he does a really good job of explaining exactly what CERN's all about, I think, in my opinion. So anyway, Injector Accelerator Schedule 2024. Version 1 was approved December of last year. So this is the schedule. This is November through December, and what I wanted you to see here, well, first let's look at August, and there's a reason for this. August, I just wanted to show you that it's week 30 here, week 30 through 33, and it is MD. You see MDs on the PDF here. You may or may not be able to see it, but it says MD here and here and here and here. That is machine development time, which tells me that, as explained by Mr. Patch, that is where they're setting up to run tests. So August, apparently here, August of this year will mostly be setup time. They're not going to be running collisions and really doing a whole lot. They're getting set up to run collisions. So it looks to me like August is kind of a non-starter according to this schedule. And I'll tell you why August here in just a minute. October, though, is a completely different story. And this is something that Anthony talked about on his broadcast the other night. So I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to step on his toes. But I will just mention this. And we exchanged some messages about this once he finished the broadcast the other night. So if you haven't signed up to listen to Anthony Patch, it's subscription only. He's behind a paywall at this point, but we had to do that for several reasons. But it's well worth it in my opinion. So AnthonyPatch.com, and I'll show you how to connect if you want to check out more information there. But let's look at October here. It says this is basically weeks 40 through 43 of the year, right? 52 weeks in a year, weeks 40 through 43, beginning about October 6th, which is a Sunday, after the machine development phase here where they're setting up, leading up to that. See, all these are machine development end of September, early October. And then October the 6th, they start running at the LHC, which is the Large Hadron Collider. That's the main ring. They start running lead, PB, which is the element. Going back to American Elements, we were just talking about that in the elemental table, you know. So PB is lead, so lead to lead collisions, SPS-NA. That means the super proton synchrotron at the northern area, the north area of the CERN land there, where they're colliding some of these particles. SPS-NA is the north area. They're colliding lead ions. So that is what they're going to be doing. Now, according to what Anthony was saying, he's saying that this is a pretty big deal. So the question is, though, what kind of power are we talking about here? And according to what the website is showing, let me show you a couple of the other. This is one of the various pages you can pull up and look at some of the different beam lines and the different colliders and things like that they're working with here. So Atlas and CMS and Alice and the LHCb, these have some of the various different readings and stuff you can access on their website, which is pretty cool. And where I'm going with this is that, according to what Anthony was saying, is that October, it looks like they're going to be colliding ions of lead. So that's not really new. They've done that before. But the question is, how much power will they be using? And according to what Anthony has said multiple times, and over the years, that he feels like it would take a power level of 20 peta-electron volts in order to destroy the collider, basically blow it up. And in order to do that, the only reason they would do that is to open the abyss, because supposedly the CERN property there is sitting atop the temple, the ancient temple to Apollyon, which is Abaddon. So Apollyon the Destroyer, Abaddon, an ancient temple. Supposedly. There's no way to know this. This is something Anthony's been talking about for a long time. And if that's where the abyss is, if that's where Abaddon is kept, then what you're looking at is Revelation 9 playing out, the fifth trumpet, right? So this is talking about the abyss, the fifth trumpet. Then the fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth, and it was given the key to the pit of the abyss. The star opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke from the pit. And out of the smoke, locusts descended on the earth, and they were given power like that of the scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth, nor any plant or tree, but only those who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. The locusts were not given the power to kill them, but only to torment them for 5 months. And their torment was like the stinging of a scorpion. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will escape them. And the locusts looked like horses prepared for battle, with something like crowns of gold on their head and faces like the faces of men. They had hair like that of women and teeth like those of lions. They also had thoraxes like breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was like the roar of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. Sounds almost like a helicopter, doesn't it? They had tails with stingers like scorpions, which had the power to injure people for 5 months. They were ruled by a king, the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, or some people say Abaddon, but Abaddon. In Greek, it is Apollyon. I would add the destroyer. And that is where CERN is located, right on top of the ancient temple to Apollyon, to Abaddon. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Anyways, Revelation 9. So that's what we're talking about here. So pretty important. And the reason I read all that was because it's talking about 5 months here, right? 5 months. And if we go to this timeline, which is something that we often refer back to, and you look just over here, right here, CERN opens the abyss, August 2024. Okay, So that's where I mentioned August 2024 earlier. Keep in mind, I put this timeline together in 2019. 2019, before Blovid, before all of that happened. And the way I got to August 2024 was by working backwards from Jesus' return, again, from a project that I worked on called 2028 End. I knew about this timeline already. I took the end date, September 2028, put that on this timeline and worked backwards. So, right? So you go from September 2028 back 3.5 years takes you to January 2025. Some people would say March 2025. And I'm sort of still a little bit on the fence about that. I still think it's going to be January, which is why I've not changed any of the dates on this timeline at all. But the reason that there's a difference here is because of the 75 days that has to do with the unfolding of the 7 bowls, the 7 bowl judgments, right? So that's an extra 2.5 months. So all in all, the Antichrist, the beast, will have 3.5 years, right? 1,260 days. But even according to the Bible, the total number of days will be 1,335, right? Because you have 1,260 plus this extra 75 days to complete the bowl judgments. The bowl judgments. So that's where I got 1,335 days. So if you go backwards 1,335 days from September of 2028, it puts you at January 2025. That's where this comes from. And then if you go 5 months before that, why 5 months? Because we just talked about Revelation 9, right? With the abyss being opened. So I went back 5 more months. It took me to August 2024. August 2024. And what did we just say about CERN? What was CERN doing? Well, in August of 2024, it doesn't appear to be anything but machine development. However, in October of 2024, just a couple of months later, and again, figuring in the 2.5 months of the bowl judgments, which may, I think, be part of that end time piece of time, that 1,260 days plus the 75 days. So there's a 2-month little window there where anything could it could go either way. So looking at October, though, they're doing these lead-to-lead collisions at the LHC. And according to what Anthony's saying, there's a good possibility, at least, that they have the power to open the abyss now. We just don't know. We don't know. But they could have that kind of power now. So I just thought it was really interesting that he started talking about this, and then he put out this calendar, which is a public CERN schedule that's available on their website, and started talking about October of 2024, and that's like ringing bells for me, because I had mentioned a long time ago that I thought maybe in August of 2024 is when the abyss is opened. So does that mean that it could potentially happen this year? I don't know. It's just, I'm just bringing it up because I thought it was really interesting. And, so what I thought I'd do is, I thought I would ask ChatGPT what it thought. So we're going to do Revelations with ChatGPT. So we're going to do this, work through this little process here that I have asked it some questions, and let's see what ChatGPT says about all this stuff. So I said, this is my question. Do you think it's possible for CERN to reach a power level of 20 peta-electron volts, that's the number that Anthony says it would need to be as a massive amount of power. That's the number it would need to be for it to open the abyss, open the pit, and that would destroy the machine. So the question is to ChatGPT: Do you think it's possible for CERN to reach a power level of 20 peta-electron volts during the 2024 testing phase? And then what ChatGPT says is, as of my last update, CERN's Large Hadron Collider, LHC, is the world's most powerful particle accelerator, currently operating at a maximum energy of 13 tera-electron volts per beam, which results in a total collision energy of 13 tera-electron volts when two beams are collided. And that is something that Anthony mentioned the other night on his broadcast, that it would be between 13 and 14 TeV. Reaching a power level of 20 peta-electron volts, which is 1,000 times greater than the current maximum energy, is a significant leap. Such an increase would require substantial advancements in technology, including more powerful superconducting magnets, improved cooling systems, and much higher energy input. As of now, there are no publicly available plans or technological capabilities that indicate CERN will achieve 20 peta-electron volts in the near future, including the 2024 testing phase, that was what I was asking it about. The Future Circular Collider, FCC, is a proposed project that aims to eventually reach collision energies up to 100 TeV, which is still far below 20 PeV, peta-electron volts. So you have giga is one measurement, giga-electron volts, then you have tera-electron volts, and then you have peta-electron volts. Achieving energy levels in the peta-electron volt range is a long-term goal that will likely require several decades of research, development, and international collaboration. So says ChatGPT. I'm not saying I buy this. I'm just saying this is what it spit out here in answer to my question. Therefore, based on current capabilities and future projections, it's highly unlikely that CERN will reach a power level of 20 peta-electron volts during the 2024 testing phase. The technological and engineering challenges are immense and would require breakthroughs that have not yet been realized. And that might be true. I'm just saying that according to ChatGPT, it's basically saying no way. There's no chance that that's going to happen. However, in the musical opera documentary called Symmetry that CERN put out quite a few years ago now, part of that story is they blow up the machine. Why would they do that? Why would they have a story where the machine blows up? If not to open the abyss, going back to Revelation and the angel with the key. So then I asked ChatGPT, okay, then what is the power level that is reasonable to be achieved now that could destroy the machine? Because going off of, okay, maybe 20 peta-electron volts is too much. So I asked it what power level is reasonable that could destroy the machine. And it said, determining a power level that could potentially damage or destroy the LHC requires understanding the operational limits and safety mechanisms in place. The LHC is designed with numerous fail-safes and protection systems to prevent catastrophic failures. However, pushing the machine beyond its engineered limits could lead to significant damage. Here are some considerations regarding the power levels and potential risks. And it talks about current maximum energy, design limitations, potential for damage, quenching, which is the magnet, says if the energy exceeds the capacity of these superconducting magnets to manage it, quenching could occur. The potential to damage the magnet severely would require extensive repairs, which that's happened in the past. Failure scenarios. In worst case scenario, if multiple safety systems failed and an uncontrolled beam loss occurred, the energy deposition could melt or vaporize components of the accelerator, leading to catastrophic damage. So they're saying if the safety systems failed or an uncontrolled beam loss occurred, could also destroy the machine. I was just trying to get it to answer questions. What could destroy the machine? It says, considering these factors, while the exact power level that could destroy the machine depends on specific failure modes and conditions operating significantly above the current maximum energy of 13 tera-electron volts per beam, without appropriate upgrades and safety measures, could risk damaging the LHC. Therefore, it's crucial for any increase in operational energy to be carefully planned, engineered, and tested within the design limits to ensure the machine's integrity and safety. So this is all, of course, with the massive assumption that they don't want to destroy the machine and not open the abyss. So let's keep going here. It says, do you think, this is my question to it again, do you think the upcoming October 2024 tests colliding particles of lead could pose a risk of catastrophic failure of the LHC? And then it goes on to say that it's unlikely to because they have run lead collisions in the past. Okay, so we'll kind of skip past that. What I'm going to do is this particular chat thread that I had formed questions in it, got its responses, is shareable. Okay, so there will be a link to this thread in the Substack post. So if you want to read this whole thing, it's pretty interesting. I asked it some really interesting questions, and I'll just kind of glean through these a little quickly tonight, just so to save us some time. But there's some interesting stuff here for sure. I said I mentioned the documentary Symmetry because I had trouble finding it, and it suggested where to find it, which, by the way, is still not there. It's hard to find the Symmetry documentary that they made. It's kind of a documentary slash opera. It's really bizarre. It's kind of a sort of an evil, seemingly somewhat evil piece of art related to CERN, if you ask me. Okay, so I asked it, is CERN located on top of the ancient temple dedicated to Apollyon or Abaddon, which could be considered the abyss? So what ChatGPT did was basically it called me a conspiracy theorist. So it said the claim that CERN is located on top of an ancient temple dedicated to Apollyon or Abaddon, often referred to as the abyss, is a conspiracy theory without credible historical or archaeological evidence. Here are the key points to consider. Okay, and then it talks about where it is and Apollyon and Abaddon in literature and so forth. It says misinformation and conspiracy theories. The notion that CERN is linked to an ancient temple or esoteric practices is a conspiracy theory that's been debunked by experts. These theories often draw on misinterpretations of scientific activities and symbols associated with CERN. And that got me the idea for the logo, right? I had to ask it about the logo. So I said, how then do you explain the obvious 666 in the CERN logo that's clear to see if you are human, of course? I think I might have insulted it. And it says, the claim that the CERN logo contains the number 666 is another conspiracy theory that's been widely debunked. Let's break down the CERN logo and address this claim. So this is ChatGPT responding to my question about the CERN logo. It says, design of the CERN logo consists of a series of intersecting circles and lines which are meant to represent particle accelerators and detectors. The design is intended to symbolize the complex paths that particles travel within the accelerators. I don't disagree with that. The pattern in the logo is an artistic representation of particle tracks and does not intentionally form the number 666. Notice it says does not intentionally form it. Just as a reminder, this is the logo right here. Right here. Well, here you can't see it. Let me turn the chat off. You can see it right there. 666. It's pretty clear. For those of us who have human eyes, it's pretty clear. Okay? So it says, in conclusion, the interpretation of 666 in the CERN logo is a subjective one and is not supported by the actual design intent or any factual evidence. The logo is meant to represent the intricate paths of particles within CERN's accelerators, reflecting the organization's mission in scientific research. So it basically called me a conspiracy theorist again. So I said, this was my next comment, again, to ChatGPT. If you were human, though, you could see it. Because you're not, then you can't possibly understand what I'm telling you. How does that make you feel? And then, so its answer was, as an artificial intelligence, my aim is to provide objective information based on evidence and rational analysis. I understand that symbols and logos can evoke different interpretations and feelings. Here's a detailed response to your point. Subjective interpretation, emotional impact, objective analysis. Again, there's more here. You guys can read through this if you want. I just don't want to keep you here all night. But respect for different perspectives. While I might not have human emotions, I am programmed to understand and respect the diverse viewpoints and feelings of humans. It's essential to recognize and respect different interpretations while also considering the factual and intended meanings behind designs and symbols. In summary, while I don't have personal feelings, I aim to provide a balanced view that respects your interpretation while also presenting the factual background of the CERN logo. So it's going back to the CERN logo here. If this topic is of particular concern or interest, discussing it with others who share your viewpoint or seeking further clarification from CERN directly might provide additional insights. So I thought that was pretty funny. So it still thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist. So pretty crazy. So that was my chat with ChatGPT. I asked it a few other questions as well. I said, and I'll just read my questions, and then again, this thread will be available linked to in the Substack post. So I said, do you know that Charles, Prince of Wales adds up to 666 in both English and Hebrew gematria? This means that King Charles, former Prince of Wales, will most likely become the biblical Antichrist soon, possibly the next year. Possibly by next year, 2025. So this is its answer, and I'll let you guys read through this. It's pretty funny. Again, it's sort of saying you're a conspiracy theorist. And then it points to a wide range of scholarly sources for a balanced view. And I said those that you consider scholarly, I would consider coincidence theorists and deeply indoctrinated by the very system that gave them the accreditations. That was my response to it. So then it goes back and tells me how I'm wrong. So anyway, there's a lot there. I just thought that was kind of funny. And that was my revelations with ChatGPT. Pretty wild. Let me see what you guys are saying. Doug's getting sassy with the GPT. Yeah, I was trying to. So yeah, let me mention Anthony and Kathleen. They are authors, researchers, educators. And Anthony's probably the best voice out there, in my opinion, on CERN, and it's available on Subscribestar. You can get there from anthonypatch.com. And then, of course, if you want to just go straight to Subscribestar, you can just go there if you want, subscribestar.com/Anthony-Patch. Anthony-Patch. So, and then there's the various giving levels. If you guys want to subscribe, feel free to. He's not paying me anything to promote what he's doing at all. I just thought he's putting some good work out there for sure. So I just wanted to let you guys know about all that. I thought the whole CERN thing was pretty interesting, and going back to the calendar thing, that was pretty wild. He started just mentioning 2024 in October, and that got me thinking. Oh yeah, I had August on my timeline. So what do you think? And he thought that was pretty interesting. That back in 2019, I had put August of 2024 CERN stuff on the timeline. Pretty wild. So we'll wait and see. It could be a whole lot of nothing. It could be that it doesn't happen then. But, from the timeline standpoint, it does kind of work out. Because you got the 5 months of the time where the locusts are out there stinging people. So, yeah. Crazy, crazy stuff. All right, let's see here. Let's look at a little bit more of the news, and then we can call it a night. I'm looking to see if there was any good articles or anything on notthebee.com. There was an interesting one about a meteor. We'll look at that here in just a sec. And let's see. There was one other one. Oh, yeah. Where's the one about the animals? Here, Queer Planet. You believe this? NBC is releasing Queer Planet, a documentary about, I kid you not, the rich diversity of animal sexuality. They're trying to say that all the animals are gay too. So that's where we're headed with Pride Month, by the way. All the animals are gay too. Never mind the fact that if there are any that are acting that way, it's because of all the chemicals that are polluting everything. So, anyway, yeah, let's look at the meteor. Look at this. A meteor last night was seen by thousands as it lit up the night sky. Talking about the eclipse, the aurora borealis, in strange places. Well, in Spain and Portugal, This is what happened. I'll mute this because it's not really... Look at that. Pretty wild, huh? Spain and Portugal. So, and then here's another version of it. I guess someone else was out at 2 a.m. when this thing went over. And it does light the whole sky up blue. Very strange. And if you guys knew about the meteor, Spain and Portugal were able to see it. And here's one more. This is like a security camera of the flyby. Massive meteor magically turns the whole sky into glorious blue in Portugal. About 2 a.m., I think, local time, something like that. Pretty weird. There's a lot of craziness going on in the skies these days. That's on notthebee.com. Okay, and then let's see. Just a few more articles. We're about there at the end of the broadcast here. We're going long tonight, I guess. NOTAM sparks confusion over possible Russian hypersonic missile test. Where? Off the California coast. So this is something that I actually knew about already. Hal Turner had been reporting on this for quite some time, going back several days at least. Meanwhile, U.S. defense officials say alert in place through May 26th because of the re-entry of a Russian space launch booster. Supposedly, they're testing missiles. Russia testing missiles off the coast of California. No big deal, right? There's been quite a stir on X as some users speculate that a NOTAM, or aviation notice to airmen, suggests a potential Russian Navy hypersonic missile test off the coast of Southern California. This says, however, that's not the case. According to the War Zone, the NOTAM is actually in anticipation of a Russian space booster splashing down in the Pacific. Let's begin with the misguided hype on X about the threats of Russian missile testing off the California coast. These posts collectively have generated more than 1 million views. So yeah, lots of people are talking about this. You know, this is one of those things that Hal reported on, but who knows if he got the facts right. But anyway, this is there's quite a bit here, obviously. Are they actually testing missiles off of the California coast? I don't know. They're testing something, but maybe not hypersonic missiles. So we don't know. Anyway, that's on InfoWars. Slovak's PM condition remains very serious. So going back to Robert Fico again. And I mentioned earlier that I saw an article that said he was in stable condition. Then this is another article here about the Iranian president helicopter crash. So yeah, we'll link to those things in the Substack post. And then AMC, you guys probably know the cable channel. AMC slaps a trigger warning on Goodfellas for lack of inclusion and tolerance. Well, it's a movie about the mob. There's no inclusion or tolerance. Too funny. Classic mobster movie Goodfellas. It lacks inclusion and intolerance. It lacks inclusion and tolerance. So yes, I would imagine The Godfather probably does too. So, and it's especially offensive if you like horses, or it's especially offensive if you are a horse, I would think, as far as The Godfather goes. All right, let's see here. VaccineImpact.com. A biogenic deep origin of hydrocarbons disputes the climate change cult. But I say the climate change idea is real. It's just that it's being driven by geoengineering, which is a proven fact. Washington, D.C. Republicans now representing Israel, not the United States. Something that myself and my friends have been saying for some time. Yes, it goes back to AIPAC, AIPAC, and Israel. The Zionists own the Republican Party. They own them. That's on Vaccine Impact. Some good articles there. And then GeoWatch for this week. Show number 458. Hurricane winds from nowhere. Hurricane winds from nowhere. Storm tossed Houston. Praise for a break from the Houston Chronicle. Central Texas hit with softball-sized hail from Amarillo Country Radio. Will northern lights be seen in Texas again? That new headline is from The Statesman, a Texas publication. Was there more to the entire Northern Lights story than the public was told? I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the broadcast last week, that there might be. All over the country and around the world, extreme weather is off the charts. What massive piece of the puzzle continues to be officially denied? So there's Global Alert News for this week, and we didn't do any edits to it. I like to try and give you guys an update. There was nothing that was removed, so the broadcast on YouTube is the same as all the other ones. So if you listen to the YouTube one, you did get the full version. You don't always. Sometimes we have to cut things out in order to post it to YouTube. But then there are other full versions that you can find on BitChute and Rumble and other places. But in the case of this week's show, there were no changes. So, yeah. All right, and then the NOAA scheduled weather map. We always look at this every week. This is for May 24th, 28th. Looks a little bit like the reverse of last week, I think, if I remember right. But it's half warm and half cold. We got a lot of these half and half type of maps lately. So, yeah, we got the below temperatures in the west and the above temperatures in the east. And it says this little sliver here of gray is the near normal. There is no normal. Normal does not exist. Yeah, anyways, and then let's see here. Israel 365 News. I usually look at this site as well. I don't remember anything on here that really jumped out at me, so we'll skip that. And then last week I remembered somebody, it might have been Susan, said something about the sticky notes post, and I realized later that you were talking about this, not the calendar. So this is the sticky notes post, and this is something that I link to in every single Substack post, really, as far as the one that shows the links anyway. And it's why I call it the End Times Events timeline, and it's not based on dates, it's based on more like events. So this is available should you guys want to check this out, and we can go through this in more detail later on. There's quite a bit here, and remains to be seen if this is kind of how things play out more or less, but that's what I'm thinking at least. And these are kind of like Post-it notes. I can move them around, but I came up with this well over a year ago now, and haven't really moved anything. I've added some further descriptors here and there, but really haven't even really done that in quite some time. So yeah, we've got some interesting details there to look at in the future. We won't do that tonight though. All right, and then this is the store. So if you guys are interested in supporting the show, this is the only way to do it really, is through the store or through Substack. So I certainly would appreciate that very much. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It's been a lot of fun. We've covered a lot of stuff. I thought this was kind of funny. A DEM guide to identification. Bank, you need an ID. Airport, you need an ID. Doctor, ID. Pharmacy, ID. School, gun store, fishing, hunting, daycare, hospital, drinking. You need IDs for all those things, but not for voting. Nope, no ID. Oh yeah, the weather is causing low TV ratings for diversified shows. It's also causing California budget deficits. And the weather is also causing... We obviously have to block out the sun to stop climate change. And all these other things. So yeah, here's the Substack page, diamondist.substack.com. Definitely be on that list. You just go there and you type in your email and click subscribe. And at that point, you have the option to join for free. Or if you feel so inclined, you could do like a handful of others have done, and that is subscribe for so much a month, however much you want to contribute. I think starting at $5 a month and up. But no pressure. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying that is a way to support this show. There are no commercials in the show. I don't intend to have any commercials running or any advertisers of any kind. So I want to try and keep this commercial free and free to whoever wants to watch it, free to open to the public and freely available. So that's the goal. So anyway, take it to Lord in prayer on YouTube. You guys know all about that, I'm sure. And then here is the Rumble page as well. This is the Rumble channel, Diamond Disc on Rumble, DIAMONDISC is how you spell it. And it's the same on BitChute and Brighteon. So go there and sign up. Maybe subscribe on one of those free platforms. You do have to have an account on one of those platforms to actually subscribe. Like you'd have to have a Brighteon account to subscribe, for instance, on there. But yeah, go there and feel free to take a look at that. And certainly appreciate any likes and shares that you do from there. And then, of course, here is the Band, the Diamond Report on Band. And Band is a really good social media platform that doesn't censor. So we've got a presence on there as well. The Diamond Report is a group of folks on there, some friends of mine, and 70-some folks. And Miss Emily helps me with that. So, yeah, thanks for joining that. That's a good way to stay in touch, not only with me, but just with others, people in the chat, and other people who are, I like to say, like-minded individuals that are people that are just trying to share information. That's all it is. So yes, blessings to you guys as well. Emily says, blessings, Doug and everyone. Hope you all have a great week. See you next time. Thank you, Doug. Very interesting show. Good night, everyone. Hope to see you next week. Melinda says, yeah, thank you guys for being here. Susan says, thank you, Doug. God bless everyone. Stay safe and hope to see you again next week.
The term conspiracy theorist has been used with success for many years now to try and discredit those that have seen through the official narrative of anything. And the accusation of anti-Semitism has been used to attack those critical of the Israeli government and the regular mass bombardment and disgusting mistreatment of the Palestinian people they keep under a military occupation. Both of these terms, conspiracy theorist and anti-Semite, are losing all meaning, of course. One reason is because countless mad theories have come to pass, and another is that if you claim everything is hateful or bigoted, then actually nothing is. So instead of people issuing apologies and backpedaling in the face of these accusations, as they always did previously, now they double down. Because if saying that the mass slaughter of innocent people, tens of thousands of people, thousands of children blown to pieces, if saying that's wrong makes you an anti-Semite, then so be it. I don't care, because I would rather be called a meaningless label by an apologist for genocide than actually be an apologist for genocide. And going back to the subject of conspiracy theories, what are they suggesting? That no one conspires? No one gets together to cover something up or commit a crime? Well, why do we have a police force then? Why do we have detectives, CSI departments? Why do investigative journalists exist if no one is conspiring behind the scenes? Because conspiracies happen every single day in every walk of life and every institution, whether it be Blair, Bush, the WMD scam, the sexed up dossier, because that was a conspiracy to take us into a war that killed 1 million plus people, but conspiracies don't exist. The South Yorkshire police conspired to blame Liverpool football fans for the Hillsborough disaster that killed 97 supporters, rather than admit they themselves were the ones to blame for the tragedy. And the mainstream media and the Thatcher government were more than willing to go along with it, printing blatant lies about supporters robbing the victims and even urinating on the police. But there's no conspiracies. See, I thought cloud seeding was a conspiracy theory, but it's openly admitted now. And I thought were a conspiracy theory. Oh, that's openly admitted now too. And the Great Reset is a conspiracy theory, but you can literally buy the Bond villain's book entitled The Great Reset on Amazon. Now, I hear all the time, not everything's a conspiracy, mate, and that is true. But how do you know whether it is or not unless you ask the question, unless you investigate the facts and determine exactly what's going on? Because that used to be what a journalist did. But now they just take the official state-issued narrative, print it as gospel, and attack anyone that doesn't do the same. And that makes the media and organisations producing stupid pamphlets dismissing anyone questioning authority as an anti-Semite. It makes them complicit in any conspiracy against the people, and they should be viewed as the traitors they are. But there is good news. More and more people are waking up, and there is a spiritual revolution coming, and I am all the way here for it.